Always
Always
happens.
move it. Gotta move it.
Got to move it over. Ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation, welcome to the season opener of the Hashtag Sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the Arizona Cardinals. A game which the Buffalo Bills, they didn't disappoint, did they, Paul?
Yeah, sure.
Like,
Certainly didn't.
just having us, get heart attacks all the time with that first half and what happened. But hopefully we'll have some answers for you by the end of the broadcast. Hopefully we'll set your mind at ease for what this Buffalo Bills team will look like in 2024. Yeah. As always, you can find all of our socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All of our episodes will go to iTunes and Spotify as well. Paul. Oh, also, I'll throw it out to you for the sponsors. We're the sponsors of the show. We added a sponsor.
We did. So we want to welcome BetDSI over to Hashtag Nation. Thanks so much to BetDSI for jumping on with us in 2024 into 2025. You're going to want to use promo code HTAG at betdsi.eu to get 120% on your initial deposit. So very excited about that. Thank you so much to BetDSI. And of course, Mr. Rogers Homes, your number one Arizona retailer. Sean's been around with us for a while. Of course, we can't forget about Sean. If you're looking for a home in Arizona, give our buddy Sean and Mr. Rogers Homes a call. I'll tell you what, Mario, I was a little concerned about how this game was going to roll out. The first half was looking not so great.
No, it wasn't.
And then Josh Allen, leaps into the end zone, and I'm pretty convinced breaks his hand. So that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Fun. Yeah, love to see that, right?
He did the old Kurt Warner reverse handoff. You know what I mean? When he messed up his hand when he actually played for the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah. Evan, we've been good, brother. Good to see you. That did not look. That's the admission for having Hero Josh. You know what I mean? That's really what happens with that.
I know. I
made a comment to you and Joe actually on the halftime show, Paul, which was, Arizona played that first half probably as perfectly as you could have played it, and right. Buffalo played it as horribly as you could, and it was still a 7-point game. So, barring any catastrophic failure in the second half, I figured the adjustments that the Buffalo Bills made would have been far superior than Arizona's adjustments, even with, the Buffalo Bills made a concerted effort in this game to take out Marvin Harrison. They had a safety over the top with him, which opened up other things for other guys. And I know a lot of people don't really get that. Do you want to bestow that upon the people? Like, in the first half, there were a lot of guys that were wide open, but it was because of the attention that Harrison was getting.
Yeah, and I think on the TV broadcast, it's always a little tough to see, right? You're not seeing full coverage there. But when, Marvin Harrison, he clearly had a gremlin in his pocket, right? Because he drops his first pass wide open.
Yeah, he was literally wide open.
But I think what Buffalo learned was Arizona was happy to nickel and dime them, right? So even though they were giving attention to Harrison and they were able to shut Harrison out for a vast majority of the game, it wasn't worth it. Right. Like it wasn't worth it. The Buffalo linebacking group really struggled to try and not read gaps. I think they saw them, but communication's a big thing across this linebacker group right now. And, first half was a big time struggle. But one of the reasons that you go ahead and you try and take out a player like Harrison is because you just don't think the rest of the team is any good. Don't get me wrong. Two-time James Conner fantasy football owner, right? But
I knew it was coming.
Yeah, but that's about all that offense has. Kyler Murray is going to do Kyler Murray things. Some games he's going to be lights out, and other games he's going to throw for 112 yards. That's the quarterback that he is. Yeah. And that team as a whole, did not deserve to drop 28 points on the Bills.
They did not.
They're not that good a team. And Buffalo let them be good in the first half. But the one thing I will tell you is that I found so fascinating. If you take a look at the splits, Arizona finishes the game with 18 first downs. Mario, they had 14 going into half. They had 4 first downs the entire second half of that game.
I will see your stat and I will raise you because they were 6 for 7 on third down in the first half.
Yeah.
Second half, like you said, different story. 1 for 6 on third down.
Big deal.
So the adjustment. And you know what? Everyone wants to talk about all these media and the pundits and all these other guys you may watch on YouTube. And I know we've been away for a while. But here's the thing, guys. Taron Johnson was something that they had to remedy very quickly in this game after he got hurt, because he is undoubtedly one of the best nickel cornerbacks that you have in the NFL today. When he went down and Cam Lewis had to come in, Bills had to make some pretty quick adjustments, which is why guys were open. People always want to make these claims, Paul, about Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. They're both 33 guys, and Hyde might even be on this team at some point. But the point is this: you're not getting a 27, 28-year-old Hyde and Poyer. Like, they're gone. Like, we have to move on now.
Right.
That's time to move on.
And if the Bills were really concerned about the communication, like being a total detriment to the team, Hyde would be on the roster.
Oh, he would definitely.
I think I make that sound like the Bills are the ones choosing not to have Hyde on the roster. Like, I don't want to make it sound like that, but he's still the team has definitely tried to convince him to consider it. Right. And and of course, football has been a big part of his life, and I'm sure it's hard for him to not be playing. But the first half of this game was like, man, they could really use Micah Hyde right now, because when you see a corner and a linebacker both make the same read on the same guy, clearly communication's a problem. But you're also rolling out Ingram, you're rolling out Cam Lewis. Like, this is not the secondary that nobody's in love with this secondary right now.
Oh, no. I mean, you talk about guys that were either practice squad guys or they were inactives.
Yeah.
Frequently. Yeah. So, what are you going to do to try to remedy that when the strength of this team was the secondary? And now you got, it seems like the veteran leadership are the corners. But what are you going to do in the middle? McBride was open all day. They were able to dump it down inside all day. The outside really wasn't there. Douglas did a hell of a job. Bedford did a hell of a job. But what are you going to do in some of those games where it starts to get really, really tight?
Yeah,
that's the thing that scares me.
That's right. And the downside of running nickel is that nickel package was real thin, because when Teron went down, now all of a sudden it's like, okay, we got to figure this out. Like, we got to make this work. And Cam Lewis, to his credit, played great in the second half. Like, Bills made adjustments. Bills did a great job. I think Babbage had a pretty steep learning curve that first half, because it just felt like he was, okay with, well, it's only 4 yards. Well, it's okay. Yeah, that was open. We knew that was going to happen. Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. But it was every play.
It was.
And the Bills couldn't generate any pressure, but eventually they were able to figure it out. Now, I got to be honest with you, that last defensive drive, seeing Vaughn out there the whole series, I was a little nervous about that. And I shouldn't be. I should not be nervous about that, but I was.
Did you like that he was sitting next to AJ Epineza?
That was interesting, wasn't it?
Is that their NASCAR thing that they talk about all the time?
I don't know. In NASCAR, you only turn left, man. I don't know.
The one sack on Murray, he literally bull rushed the tackle into Murray.
Yeah,
that's one way. That's one way to spy him.
Right,
but I mean,
listen, if it works, I think it's their third and distance package is fascinating to me, right? Because if you look at the way that they line up, Rousseau's outside of the tight end. Vaughn is over the right tackle, and then Epineza was in D tackle, right? He was in like the 2. It's a fascinating look, right?
No, actually, he looked like he gave more of a 5 look. It looks like he was outside a little bit more, and Vaughn was taking just like, it seemed like him and Rousseau after a while just said, listen, our point is 8 yards in the backfield.
Yeah, they were extending that for a while.
Yeah.
They did not do a good job in the first half of contain. They were both extending those gaps pretty bad.
Yeah, but it was different. It wasn't the typical, as you guys would remember if you were, Bills fans for a while, the Jerry Hughes rush, where he would run literally straight 10 yards up the field and try to make a 90-degree angle.
Yep.
But I mean, honestly, for all the games that we've covered and all the years that we've done this, Paul, I was not worried for a second when the Bills went down. They had a penalty. They scored, Arizona scores again. I mean, maybe it's Arizona, and I don't really feel that it's a viable threat. Maybe the thing that we always talk about, it's an NFC game. You can lose those if you want.
Yeah.
But I kept sitting there going, listen, this Bills team is playing so bad right now in this first half, and Arizona literally didn't make any mistakes.
No.
The entire first half.
Yep.
And they're They're only usually when good teams, you do that with good teams and they play perfect and you play dog water, they're going to be up 21. And they were only up 7. And Buffalo Bills were like, listen, let's just try to get 7 before the half. Let's try to right the ship. And I think that gave them enough momentum to go into the second half. Like, hey, we're getting the ball back. Let's see what we can do. But the game never seemed to get out of reach, or like I was never worried about it. Were you ever worried about it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The drive before halftime. That was my tipping point, because I was like, listen, Buffalo's got to score a touchdown here, and I again got nervous when they kicked the field goal to go up 6. I was like, that doesn't do it for me.
That is drought era Paul coming back.
No, right? It's just I didn't like it. I don't like it. And here's why, right? I think the kickoff rules really change the game.
Oh my God.
A lot. They change the game a lot. Because all of a sudden it only takes 2 gaps and the dude's gone. Like, it doesn't take much to give a big return, which I think the NFL was looking for. They wanted a safer opportunity for kickoffs. I think this is safer, but they also wanted bigger play potential. The downside is the rules really negatively impact the game, because like you see Tyler Bass tries to kick a line drive, kicks it out of bounds because he has to kick it into the landing zone. It has to go into the landing zone. And the rules are definitely keeping games closer. Like, if just as an example, right? The Eagles and Packers go 34-29, right? The Chiefs and Ravens go 20-27. Even like the Jaguars and Dolphins go 17-20. The Texans and Colts go 29-27. The Patriots win today, going 16-10. The Titans, versus the Bears, 17-24. The Bills, 34-28. The Steelers and Falcons, 18-10. All really close games, and you have to imagine that the improved field position increases the scoring rate. It just has to. Teams aren't starting at the 20. They're not starting at the 25. They're starting at the 30 or the 40. Like, in bad weather conditions, every team's going to be starting at the 40. Like,
that's going to be crazy.
Guys. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that being said, what's your excuse for New Orleans today?
Crazy, right?
The fact that they were playing an SEC team.
I know.
In Carolina.
Crazy.
Like, that's the thing. I mean, some people kind of go off the handle sometimes when they're talking about this team, and like when there's like that first half, a lot of people are like, "Oh Lord, not again."
Yeah.
But like you sit there and you go, "Okay, they're up 6." But like the drive from where they the drive at the end of the half, where they had a couple penalties go against them, it just seems different when you have a quarterback with the unique skill set of Josh Allen.
Yeah.
You can make up things that normally teams can't. You know what I mean? It's great to have for you, but he can't go throwing 2 touchdowns and running for 2 every game. Like,
God, no. Yeah, no.
Like, I really think like Cook should have had more carries inside the red zone. But I think that Arizona was keying on him. Like, listen, we can't let Allen get to the edge, but we can't. Cook's been gutting us all the way up the field. What are we going to do? And their adjustments forced the hand of Buffalo for Josh Allen to be an animal again.
Yeah.
But like him, just stay on the ground, Josh. Knock it off.
I mean, they tightened the screws in the last 2 drives for Buffalo, right? So Cook really couldn't get anything going in the final 2 drives, really, when Buffalo needed him. And that's, kind of the thing about Cook that I guess rubs me a little bit the wrong way, because you have Ty Johnson, you have Ray Davis, and you have James Cook. And I still, maybe it's just the old school guy in me, right? But like, we're carrying Reggie Gilliam. Like, I'd rather have a bigger back that I could turn to and say, listen, we literally just need to get 2 first downs here. That's what we need. We need 3 yards 3 times, just about. Like, we need this is what we need, right? We get 2 first downs, this game's over, right? And the Bills just couldn't put it away, because for some reason Arizona was able to make an adjustment to Buffalo on the ground. And Buffalo, for those of you who love fantasy football, Shakir is a fun own. Mac Hollins today was a fun own. Keon Coleman today they really let Coleman be physical out there today.
Oh yeah,
right? They let the corners be physical all game, which I'm fine with. But like, this is a team that people are going to complain about Dalton Kincaid not getting any looks. Josh Allen attempted 5 passes in the first half. Like, What do you?
Well, yeah,
what do you expect?
you got to also think of it this way. They have McBride on their team. What was the story coming into the NFL, coming into the season about the Bills after Diggs was gone? Was
Yeah,
that Kincaid's going to be their number one? So
yeah, that's right.
Arizona prepared and had McBride to practice against
Hmm.
if they even wanted to.
Right.
And they see him every day in practice. So they know how to try to hem in or shut down a tight end. And who's the only tight end that got open early was Knox because they were paying
Dawson
so much
Knox.
attention to Kincaid.
Yeah.
So those are the things within a game that we talk about all the time here, guys, is the fact that that's what happens. The team that's quicker to pick up what the other team is trying to take away and then expose the other things that they're letting open.
Hmm.
That's what happens. The Buffalo Bills and the Arizona Cardinals were quick to diagnose two things immediately. The fact that Taron Johnson was not in the game and the fact that they wanted to put two guys on Marvin Harrison, who they thought was the biggest threat. What happens? Immediately, Kyler Murray becomes Tom Brady of 2006, where he has a 7-yard passing tree. He's not throwing anything. He's dumping everything underneath, and guys are getting run after the catch. Connor was running the ball very, very hard in those first drives, but it was that was the progression of the game. And then after halftime, when the adjustments were made, look at what happened in the second half. 1 for 6 on third down, 4 total third downs for Arizona. The Buffalo Bills were able to cover up what their weakness was and adjust to Arizona more than they could adjust to them. And then when the score started to get as it was, these guys are human beings. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, we had them 17-3, guys, and they're beating us now. And they may start pointing fingers. They're a young team.
Right.
So what happens in that respect? So I think the Buffalo Bills being a little bit more seasoned as far as a coaching staff, and I know no one will give praise to this coaching staff ever, I think being more seasoned in that respect helped them in the second half of this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's some things that work in week 1 that aren't going to work in week 2 and aren't going to work in week 3, like the MVS catch for 19 yards. Like you went heavy with a single wide receiver on the outside, and that's going to work once, right? That play works one time, and you did it, and you needed it. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
right? Like you needed it, but that look isn't going to work in future weeks, right? Like that's, even though MVS is there, that they really were overestimating Josh Allen throwing the ball down the field. And that's another piece of this is Josh, I think the yards that Josh generates, the deep pass game has continued to, kind of be a forgotten part of this Bills offense because they don't really hit it all that often, and I know the threat's always there, but they don't really hit it often enough to guard against it. And I think a lot of times in the midseason, that's part of the struggle is teams realize, like, hey, listen, Josh hasn't completed a ball over 40 yards this season, 40 yards in the air this season. What are we doing here? Right? Like,
well, yeah,
let's tighten the screws on that.
It's one of those things. Like, I'll harken back to it because they were able to win so much with the Patriots that used to beat up the Bills all the time. You would see them one week they'd have 45 passing attempts, and the next week they're running for 200 yards. It's just game specific. Maybe there was something in this game where they were like, listen, we're not going to be able to take the top off of this defense. Let's try to nickel and dime them and try to pick and choose our spots. That shot that he took for MVS, that he overthrew him, he probably said, listen, I was in there a couple of other extra plays, and they're literally sprinting.
Yeah.
So if we need something, I can do a comeback. Let's see if I can do a comeback.
Yeah.
And when you line up in a double tight formation like that, and you're like, okay, I'm going deep, they're going to try to take a shot here. The guy just starts backpedaling, and he stops, and you hit it. But now what that does is that film goes to other teams, and they're going to start saying, oh, if they go heavy with MVS out there, he's never going to go deep. He's going to try to make the comeback. And then that's where you get the double move and you get a big play. So while you're right, is that doesn't come up again.
No.
But it's still interesting to see those little wrinkles that maybe Brady might be planting the seed for weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6. But it's so fun. He just has the spoon in the pot. He's like, oh, I'm cooking this bad boy up right now. Let's see how this goes.
Right. Well, and I think what's so fascinating about the second half of the game that Buffalo was fortunate, like it played out in their favor. was if you look at time of possession, because Mark, you mentioned it before before we started the show. Buffalo was getting their face kicked in, yet they end up winning the time of possession, and it was 2-1 going into halftime.
It was.
Arizona had the ball for 20 minutes in the first half, and Buffalo ends up winning the time of possession. But if you look at that, Arizona had a drive of 158, 51 seconds, 4 minutes and 5 seconds. So it actually, almost every drive that they had outside of the 4-minute drive did not exceed the time that they took up in the 4-minute drive. But that's the game of football. You force a fumble, which, again, from a pressure package standpoint, great adjustment. But that's where the learning curve is going to be here, right? First halves of games might kind of look like that defensively, where you're trying to figure it out. But again, look at what you're playing. You got Ingram, who's been on your practice squad. You've got Cam Lewis, who has been on your practice squad pretty regularly. You have Damar Hamlin, who died a couple years ago. You have Taylor Rapp, who missed a handful of games and really was re-signed, I think kind of to handcuff whether or not Hyde was going to return or not. And you had safety problems all offseason, right? So, the fact that we're not talking about Rasul Douglas and we're not talking about Christian Benford, I think tell you how well they played, because Benford was covering up a lot of bad football in the first half of this game. Like a lot of things a lot of the tackles he made were not his fault, right? You know how sometimes when cornerbacks go out and have like a 6 tackle game, you're like, yeah, I know why you had 6 tackles, right? I'm pretty sure I know why you had 6 tackles.
You can't do that though.
It's true.
No, time out. I'm backtracking like 35 seconds, and the chat knows it too.
Oh, the DeMar comment?
You can't talk about regular injuries and then you say he died. And you skipped over like it was a pulled hamstring. Like he died out 3 weeks. It's like, what the heck are you doing to me over here?
What do you?
Oh my God,
dude!
And in all of that, I know you're talking about with the quarterback position, like the touchdown that got thrown. Benford came back for that.
I know,
but it wasn't his guy.
It wasn't his play.
He saw it and came back, and he's like, whatever, sugar, honey, iced tea. And tried getting it, but he couldn't get it. And in all of that stuff, all that overreaction with a lot of Bills Mafia that happened today, I mean, because I was all over the social media landscape and I saw all the overreactions. It was crazy. 270 total yards. Mm-hmm. That's all a pro NFL team had 270 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And scored 28 points.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like, because I literally, when that last drive happened, and I'll tell this for #Nation and Bills Mafia. I saw the Bills that were going to kick the field goal. I'm like, first of all, Bass, do not push this right, because I'll literally throw my 65-inch television outside if that happens.
Yeah,
that's the first thing. The second thing was this. I started talking to myself, as I usually do. I'm like, they managed a field goal, or they managed since all that chaos went down. They managed a field goal in the second half and a 96-yard return. They have not mounted any type of offense or semblance of an offense. My question was this on that entire final drive: will McDermott play passively? Mm-hmm. And I think we got our answer as a Bills fan base, as #Nation, as Bills Mafia. When you run a double A gap blitz on 4th down, it is not Sean McDermott calling the plays.
No.
So I think we got our answer. Like everyone said, Babbage was calling the plays. I had a feeling that McDermott might have taken it over, but I think McDermott understood, A, Babbage needs to do this, and B, he lost, arguably with Matt Milano out, arguably his most valuable, most versatile player in Taron Johnson on that defense. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think, he was letting him continue that game and call the game the way he did. But if you see a double A gap blitz, that's not McDermott calling that.
Right.
I firmly believe that's not that was a bold, risky call to try to just put some faces and bodies around Kyler Murray so he couldn't run away, and he couldn't get a good view of what the receiver was doing. Yeah, and he didn't get a good view of it.
Yeah, so. And why? And I mean, the route there isn't a Dortch. There was a lot of contact there, so let's not hide the fact that there was a lot of contact on that final play for Arizona.
Oh, there was. Oh,
there was
but there were contact. You can't call that though as a referee crew. If you're calling it that way the whole game, you can't switch up and then say, "Oh, that's pass interference."
I agree. I mean, was it Rapp who had one hit him in the ass? It was Rapp on
I don't
the
know.
play to McBride. Yeah, McBride didn't come back to the ball. I think a pass hit Rapp in the ass, and you know, that didn't get called. Right, receivers got to come back for the ball. Yeah, there was contact. Rapp didn't turn around clearly, right? But
He did. No,
it,
I mean, you
but
could have
it's not a
called that.
catchable. It's again, you have to at that point be debating how catchable is that ball, right? Like it hit the defender it hit the defender in the backside, right? Like how catchable is that pass, especially if the receiver is not coming back to the ball? Is the contact, a detriment to the read of the pass? So I guess that's where I'm kind of at. I thought the refs let a lot of contact go in the secondary. I don't think that's going to be the standard this year. I just don't believe it. With all that being said, I do want to go back to the Bills' final offensive drive,
Okay.
the field goal, right?
All right.
So they start at the 42, which is huge, right? It's huge to start at the 42. They kick the ball from the Arizona's 21-yard line, right? Why are you kicking the ball there? That's what I don't understand, right? Why are you kicking that field goal? Because you gave up 20 yards by kicking it off. If you just snap the ball and fall on it on fourth down, Arizona gets the ball back at the 20. You gave it back to them on the 40 because of the kickoff rules. This is the part of the game that's not figured out yet by this coaching staff.
Yeah.
And it's something to be aware of. We always talk about game management being something to be concerned with. Traditional football tells you to kick the field goal. NFL kickoff rules do not encourage you to kick a field goal there, right?
No.
It encourages you to go for it.
So you're talking about the point of just so I'm understanding your thought process here. They kick a field goal from 39 yards out.
Mm-hmm. Right.
On the ensuing kickoff, he gave them the ball at the 40.
Right.
So
yeah, so if you miss it or you kick it out of bounds, it's a wash there. But you're never planning to kick the ball out of bounds on the kickoff. And they had already returned one on you earlier today.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't understand. Why do you kick it? Right? Why do you kick it? You go for it. If you go for it, they get the ball the 20. Okay. Right? A field goal to tie, I guess, right? Is that the risk factor? Is that what he's mitigating? He's mitigating the fact that they could kick a field goal to tie. I mean,
maybe
they would have the wind, but
maybe he didn't trust
20.
the guys that were out there, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could have faith in your players and not trust certain things that may happen. Like, listen, let's try to go for 3. If we get it, I have confidence that my defense could stop them from getting a touchdown. I don't have confidence from them stopping them from getting a field goal. And we got guys that are already banged up already as it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the first game of the year to go to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that could have been something that happened.
Joe has a great comment. He says, but the yards you lose, you gain in them needing a TD instead of a field goal. That's a good point. That's a good argument. That's a reasonable argument. I like that. I like
Joe
that.
coming in.
Yeah, I know he was busy all day. If you guys didn't see it, Joe was broadcasting Game for us here on #sports along with our partners at BetDSI and Mr. Rogers Holmes. Thanks, Joe, for doing all the heavy lifting. It was a hard one. It was a hard one for him.
So we got Bonds Goat 25 always coming in with super chats. Thank God Gabe run 80 yards during a 0 blitz and never turn around towards the quarterback. Dave Scon Legend says he's still wondering what a shallow route is.
Yeah, Gabe was not an underneath guy, was he?
No, he was not. I did want to take a comment at a good old Steve Lynn, because as you know here at Hashtag we love reading the comments and answering you guys. McDermott calling the game like we have some elite shutdown defense is so funny. This season will be a dumpster fire. I understand where you're coming from, but given what happened last year with this team and how many defensive injuries they had, and they were still able to Band-Aid and bubblegum put together, duct tape, whatever kind of defense they had last year in order to be competitive in games and still make the playoffs, I think is still a testament to his ability to adjust. And I think last year taught him a lot about that. And I think Babich being a part of that knows all the adjustments that happened. So if guys happen to go down, like if last season didn't happen and Taron Johnson goes down, I don't think we see it as a quick adjustment at halftime as we did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying I'm not 100% sure, but I'm just saying I don't think we have that huge adjustment that we did.
So I want to point out that while I was on the halftime show with Joe, because we have the partnership with BetDSI, use promo code HTAG. So betdsi.eu, the live betting lines said that the Bills were 1.5 underdogs going into the second half. So in theory, after the Bills kicked the field goal, you won.
Yeah.
Right? You couldn't lose. If you bet the
Yes.
Bills 1.5, on the live line, you couldn't lose money. That was it. Like, it didn't matter. You were gonna win money. And that was going off at just about even money, right? So listen, hashtag sports here to make you guys money in the offseason.
we
now,
are.
now that
we
we're
are.
here. Yeah. Oh, Ryan's in Let's Go Boys. Ryan was at the game. He sent me pictures of the new stadium as it was being built, along with his architectural interpretation of it, which I was glad to have.
I didn't know he went to
with,
school for that. That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, he sure did.
So he sure did. If you call stacking up red Solo cups architectural school.
So Mar, you changed this over to a tale of two halves.
Yeah, I mean, because we were talking about it, going back and forth, what was going on. What, Paul and Chat, talk to me here. Was it lack of playing together in the preseason? Just a lot of new pieces coming in. I mean, obviously, the line, you got 4 out of the 5 guys still there, but 2 are in different positions. Mm-hmm. You have the receiving core seems like it's just completely different, with the exception of Shakir. Cook seems like he's off to a good start, and we knew he was going to get off to a good start because he's the one seems like the most knowledgeable of this offense other than Shakir. What could we avoid? What could the Buffalo Bills do to avoid getting these slow starts? Structural integrity. Shut up, Ryan. What could the Bills do to avoid getting in these slow starts of games? Because, fool me once, shame on you. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. They could just like have slow starts and then come back from that, but I don't think they want to do that all the time.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, Buffalo has historically been weak against the run. And the one thing that I noticed early in this game was that defensive line rotation that I think we're really used to. And they're not doing that this year. Right? Like this.
Yeah.
You saw Daquan Jones a lot. You saw Ed Oliver a lot. So they don't plan on running that rotation. So if you can run the ball early on Buffalo, you're going to have it all game. Right? Like that. Yeah. That's just the way that's going to be, because it doesn't look like that rotation is as deep as I think we're used to seeing it. And that's just a product of you have to try and find value in picks, right? Like that's why you still have Cam Lewis, right? You're paying him league minimum. That's what you got to play guys like this. That's why you're still got DeMar. You're paying him basically league minimum, you got to find guys that can play for you at those salary points. You're paying Ed a lot of money. You're paying Daquan Jones a pretty good amount of money for a player his age. You just gave Spencer Brown an extension. You've got a left tackle that you pay. You've got a quarterback that you pay. You've got a center that you signed. You've got a lot of money tied up in players. So that defensive line rotation, I don't think they believe is very deep right now. And that could be a Babbage thing, right? Just wanting the consistency of those players up front. Something to watch all season.
Right? Yeah, you wear them out a lot of times.
Yeah.
And, I mean, T-Dobbs comes in. The D-line played prevent and timid at the start of the game. They need to punch them in the mouth right away. I understand that process and that philosophy if they're playing like Joe Burrow. If they're playing Brock Purdy. Mm-hmm. But with Kyler Murray and his ability to just run around and scurry around there, you can't really pin your ears back and just go 150 miles an hour straight and punch them in the mouth. You have to kind of maintain what they call that gap integrity and not let them out. I mean, okay, hey, I could beat this guy in the C gap all day, but my responsibility is the B gap here in case Murray takes off. Mm-hmm. So if I actually go to the C gap and I get around my guy and he just kind of gives me a nudge, Murray runs for 20, I'm going to get an ass chewing in the film room the next day.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do that. So I think a lot of that was kind of built into the scheme of the game. When you have a guy like Murray, when you have a guy like Lamar, when you have a guy like Allen, who can run the ball and make some, noise with his feet.
Mhm.
You have to kind of maintain that thing, so you can't really pin your ears back. Now, 3rd and 21, you want to run it? Go ahead. I'm bringing the horses at you. But I think majority of that and it could have contributed to the slow start, and that opens up your running game too.
Yeah.
We talk about how James Cook ran the ball today. Connor ran the ball very well early because they might have been just playing a little passive. They might have just been, okay, I'm going to maintain my gap here, and then Connor's just blowing right by him. So it's a little tough.
And Evan Anderson, a point that we talk about all the time, always fear the defensive end in a contract year. Always fear that player. Greg Rousseau is going to be making some money if this is any signs of how his season's going to go.
3 sacks, forced fumble already.
Yep. Ryan asked, Mario, did you bring up the defensive signs?
I did not. Ryan Ryan was at the game. He was our on-field reporter. No, I'm just kidding. He was in the 300 section slamming beers. Anyway, point says he was talking about the Buffalo Bills as they were communicating with the defense. They were holding up 11 signs for 11 personnel and 12 signs for 12 personnel. And if they happen to go with another tight end, they were talking about the strength being the number that they were holding up if they went with 12. So that was kind of a mark to tell Dorian where to go.
Yeah.
On which side was the strength, because it was, I believe is that the correct interpretation that you told me, Ryan, for the game?
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That checks out.
But
even if you're wrong, we could sell it as fact. I mean, that sounds legitimate to me.
Hey, people sell weirder things on YouTube. Okay. Let's just put that way. But that being said, it's interesting that they're taking like a college type thing. I mean, because pros do it every once in a while, but you see that more in college. One yellow sign had 11 or 12.
Right.
Okay. That's interesting.
Mitch comes in with a great comment. I think the only real difference in the two halves was the Allen fumble. That was a huge swing in the first half. And that's a great point, because after the Allen fumble, because that happened, the Bills had the ball for 2.5 minutes. Arizona gobbles up 5.5 minutes on a field goal. Bills come back with another 5-minute drive for a field goal. Arizona takes 7 minutes on a touchdown. So that fumble really negates probably a couple minutes in possession and most certainly points on the board. I don't think Buffalo feels like they're playing from behind for most of that first half if that Allen fumble doesn't happen. But typical Josh Allen fumble, right? Like this is what teams do against him, right? Like they know that he exposes that ball, and we see this consistently from Allen.
We're gonna continue to see it. I mean, that's what you get with, as Ryan and I talk about, chaos Josh.
Yeah,
like when you have an athlete of that caliber of Josh Allen and how he's able to make plays when there are no plays is a true testament to him. But it comes with a risk, and the risk is the fact that he's going to put the ball on the ground every once in a while. I think what a lot of people, when they got nervous in the first half about what was going on with this team, one of the things could have been the ghost of Christmas past, which was the Jet game last year opening. Yeah. Because there was mistakes, there was chaos, there was nothing had any rhythm. There was guys he missed on streak routes, and then he had turnovers, and then there was a special teams touchdown by the other team. Stuff like that will come back. And being Bills fans as we are, and Bills Mafia #Nation, we know you don't want 2000 to 2016 anymore. Like no one wants that ever. So a lot of times that point of view is what we're coming from. We're like, oh God, the Bills are going to lose this one because they always lose these types of games. And then you got to remember, this is a new era of Bills. I mean, they're not the team that they were. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that they're better than the 2021 team or the 2020 team or the 20. You know what I mean? They're not. I don't think they are. Looking at them today, I don't think they're better than that team. But then you still have to sit there and realize, are they a more seasoned team that can go out and win games, especially playoff games, because they've been there so many times? Yeah. Can they do it?
I mean, this game definitely brought a lot in the passing game. So even though Allen only attempted 23 passes, he had over 10 guys with targets, like with 5.
Oh, yeah.
Had
9 guys caught
5
passes.
Yeah, 10 targeted. I mean, I guess you could count the Ty Johnson target, right? That he did Ty Johnson a favor there. Right, that Ty Johnson target over the middle. He if he completes that pass, Ty Johnson, he gets hammered.
He's right. He's riding the Hamlin bus back into the locker room. What?
Ryan, I need to know from a stadium view. Did they take Hamlin's number off the ambulance? I think it's time.
Please,
Right?
did
I think
they?
it's time. If he's starting, you cannot have his number on the ambulance. You got to take that thing off. Right?
Paul, was it you that told me about if he gets hurt in a game and they still have his number on the thing? He has his own personal Uber.
Yeah, it looks like he just ordered his own Uber. You don't want to do that. You got to get that thing out of there. You got to get that out of there. Just the optics are really bad. You got to get the number. You got to get his numbers off the ambulance.
You do 100%.
Yeah, you got to do that. The overall, only 3 players had more than 2 targets. Right. Only 2 wide receivers had more than 2 targets. Keon Coleman walks in 5 targets, 4 receptions, 51 yards, and Shakir, boy, what a fun couple catches he had, right? 3 targets, 2 receptions, 42 yards. What a highlight reel on his touchdown, because Deion Dawkins, I wouldn't want to be the safety over there. Like, you got Deion Dawkins running at you, throwing bodies everywhere. Like,
that was what was the safety's name? I can't remember. I'll figure it out.
And it doesn't matter. He's flat. They had to peel him off the field.
Let me take a look, because I know it was Thompson. It was Jalen Thompson. Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan even tweeted out during the game. He goes, "That man has a family."
All right, good. I'm glad that they took his number off the ambulance. That's good. Thank you.
Shakir, to me, in like the most recent games where he's had a catch and he has something like that happen, he's to me, he's becoming the wide receiver equivalent to Isaiah Pacheco. Because he just runs like the ground knows him money. Like, that's he's just so like he's shifty, and he's like strong, and he's just all physical. He loves looking for contact and this and that.
Yeah, and at his weight, you wouldn't imagine it, right? Like, he's a very physical receiver for his size. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, well, Shakir's a slot guy." He's not a little. He's thin, but he's not a little guy. Like, he's not.
No. And that touchdown that he had, Diggs ain't making that play.
No,
I'm sorry.
No.
I mean, for those of you that are watching that are still the Diggs fans that think we shouldn't have gotten, the Buffalo Bills shouldn't have gotten rid of Diggs. Diggs ain't making that touchdown. No, I'm just telling you right now.
Diggs isn't making that catch on the sideline either that Coleman made.
Oh my God! Is that
no offense to Diggs, right? But it just requires a different player,
different skill set. Yeah,
very different. Yeah, very different.
Yeah, Coleman is like, okay, you don't have Gabe Davis anymore, but you got a guy who's a little faster, who has better hands. Okay, I'll take that. And you know what I mean? The weird part about it is there's going to be people on national media that literally get paid to do this, that are going to be talking about Marvin Harrison's stat line versus Keon Coleman's stat line, and it's just not fair.
Yeah.
They don't know the game. They don't understand. Like, if you guys saw or listened to what we were talking about a little bit earlier in the game, we were talking about the Bills made a concerted effort to get rid or box or bracket, Harrison. The Cardinals didn't do that with Coleman. They left the corners on islands with him every once in a while. You know what I mean? The Bills did not do that with Harrison. So it's unfair judgment of the kid, because it's his first game. He has 1 catch. He has a drop. He's going to have to live with that for 6 more days. And then he may have 10 catches for 200 yards next week. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be one of those things where either I'll light a fire under his ass, or it's going to be one of those things where he's going to be like, do I belong here? And I'm sure he'll talk to his dad and he'll be fine. So,
well, and Mar, I mean, if you look down the road, right? So Buffalo had the ability to take a player out of the game of Marvin Harrison and say, listen, beat us with Trey McBride, beat us with Benson, beat us with Murray on the ground, beat us with Connor. Go ahead, because our linebacker group is faster than those players. We're willing to take that chance, right? It allowed them just to rush 4 all day. That's what they were trying to do, is they were trying to keep the game in front of them. The problem was that in the first half, Arizona executed a perfect first half. So even though the Bills were keeping the game in front of them, it was still 5-6 yards at a time, right? Like, that linebacker group is fast. But if you look at the rest of the schedule, does Buffalo have the ability to do what they did against Arizona and take a player out? Like, I know Waddle went out today for Miami. I don't know what that looks like. I haven't seen the injury report on Waddle yet. I don't know if we're really going to get an honest injury report. But I mean, you're walking in the Dolphins, the Jaguars, and the Ravens, and then the Texans. Those are your next 4 games. I mean, you got barn burners of games in September.
Oh yeah.
And then you draw, you're at Houston in October. And of those, you've only got one more home game. You're going to Miami. You're going to Baltimore. You're going to Houston. These are naughty places to have to play, right? So
yeah.
Buffalo doesn't have the ability to do what they did today. So how does that impact the way that the defense performs?
I think isn't this like the first game? Is it the last game that they have during the day? They're in a 1 o'clock game until like late October or something like that. So prime time might put a different paint job on a bunch of different things. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's gonna really do that. But I think what the Buffalo Bills learned from last year is the fact that they're able to adjust to injuries. And if they have any kind of significant injuries that are coming up, if Taron Johnson's is more serious than we thought, if certain things, it's not a game time thing. It's okay, we're going to prepare for the whole week. I mean, at least have a week to prepare. I mean, obviously for the Dolphins, they only have 4 days playing on Thursday. So it's going to be interesting to see that. But I mean, with the burners that you have, I don't think you have that kind of speed in the secondary. So you're going to be playing those safeties 20 yards back. What does that mean? You're relying on the speed of Williams and Bernard covering all the underneath stuff by themselves. And the other guy was Taron Johnson. Right. Now, do you think Cam Lewis is fast enough to be covering guys underneath like that? We're going to find out if Johnson can't go. Right. You know what I mean? That's going to be one of the things that are going to be that's going to be kind of scary coming up in a few weeks because they didn't have that speed last year with Poyer and Hyde.
No.
And they still were able to cover it up.
Right.
So
yeah, I think experience is where this one goes,
Yeah, experience. Because if you're talking about certain things that go on, the greatest thing about Hyde and Poyer is because they were so in sync with each other was the fact that they were able to confuse the quarterback. Now, if the quarterback doesn't know where they're supposed to 100% go with the ball, then that's an advantage for you. It doesn't matter what kind of coverage you have.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And, to speak to it earlier, Waddle went out, but it was with concussion. Concussion, but he returned a few plays later. So he must have checked out. But you know how that concussion stuff can be, right? Just because a player returns, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll be eligible for the next game. So any sort of, suspected head injury, especially with a quick turnaround like this game is going to be, like, guys, Buffalo plays again in 4 days? Like, I'm glad Buffalo came out healthy for the most part. Like, Josh Allen very well could have broke his hand. I'm just gonna throw it out there, right? Like, I know they taped it up, but if you look at it, it's very possible that he broke a bone in his non-throwing hand. Now, that hasn't stopped any quarterback in the history of football that's tough as nails like Josh Allen. Didn't Derek Carr break his non-throwing hand and he still played? Was it Carr?
He could have broken his throwing hand and no one would have noticed.
Oh, come on. New Orleans put up like a 40 burger today. What are you talking about?
I thought you said David. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, yeah,
no,
David Carr, yeah.
Yeah, Derek probably.
If I was going to insult a quarterback from that era, it'd be Joey Harrington. You should know me better than that.
What could you say about Harrington that hasn't been said in barbershops all over Detroit? Like, literally. All right, I like what Ryan said. We're going to do this, and then we got a special surprise for the hashtag nation as well. Thoughts on kicking the field goal at the end? Did we go over this one yet?
Yeah, we did talk about it.
Okay. Well, Ryan wasn't here, but I'm talking about, Ryan, we're saying that McDermott probably had the confidence that his team could prevent a touchdown, not a field goal, and didn't want to go to overtime. So there's my expert analysis, Ryan.
I'm a big proponent that the kickoff rules really change the way that you have to.
It's going to
game decisions. Yeah, and honestly, one thing that I want Ryan and Joe to talk about on their razor sharp picks, which is on Tuesday nights. I think Tuesday nights are the nights they do that. Yeah. Is the kickoff rules impacting the over-unders, right? Because teams are starting drives further up the field than they used to, right? So how does that impact the over-unders, right? I know that Ryan and Joe were very much on the under train this week. So listen, it's first week. These things don't always go so great. You got some matchups that are kind of, they're gonna go under. And I'm very curious to see how close they came on all their bets. Of course, you can always follow along Razor Sharp Picks here on the Hashtag Sports Network, along with our partner at DSI. And with that, Bills Mafia, Hashtag Sports. Being a fan isn't just about watching the game. It's getting to the game and getting in when you're ready. Passion is one of those things. You got to bring that passion over to betdsi.eu. BetDSI has been around for over 20 years, and they know how to treat real fans just like us. The best odds, fastest payout, a great platform. I mean, we're talking about one of the best UIs that you've ever seen on the front side for betting. It is outstanding stuff. And if you use promo code HTAG, you're going to get a bonus deposit in bets. Get over to betdsi.eu and let's get betting together. Play responsibly, of course. And Hashtag Sports thanks you for all that. Of course, all the links for all that will be in the description after this video. Wednesdays at 10. Totally wrong about the time of the show. There we go. Wednesdays at 10.
We got it.
Thanks,
so
Ryan.
we have 70 beautiful people in here. I wanted to put this one up here.
McDermott said in his postgame that 4th and 2, he would have gone for it. Oh yeah, revisionist history. I would have gone for it, but it was a long 4th and 3, and he wanted to give his defense a chance to get the stop. Of course, you wanted to give your defense a chance to make the stop. God, we heard that before.
He wants to be the hero. All right, so we are almost to that magical place, which is the end of the stream. To let you guys know, all of you that participated in the stream, all the stuff that you guys, asked and talked about, and hopefully we settled your mind at ease a little bit. We're going to do something, instead of the roast, which we can do if enough of you guys comment on the video and like the video, we'll still do the roast. But for today, last few minutes, what I want to do is we'll go over hashtag Q&A. Anything you guys want to ask, either specific to Paul or myself, or we'll both answer or whatever. And then we'll make sure to answer those things. So any questions you guys may have as far as the game moving forward the next couple of weeks, what's going on, all that other stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I got one real quick while people are typing in the chat. Is Torrance going to get voted off the island for that face mask? Like, good grief. Like, listen, I know it's messy in there, right? And guys catch face masks all the time, but he tried to turn that bro into an owl. Like, he tried to rotate his head.
Hey, Paul, I've said it numerous times. Daniel Garries is in the chat. He can attest to this. Give me 53 convicts and I'll bring you home a Super Bowl.
Why? Because they're going to stop calling penalties eventually? Not today, Mario.
No,
not today. They didn't.
But I don't think this puts this on the radar for him. You know what I mean? I don't think, like, usually guys are real dirty and they do this stuff all the time in the trenches, and refs are just like looking for it. He was, to my knowledge, a very clean player last year within the rules of everything that he did. Talk about a player that doesn't get talked about enough. Torrance, the guy just shows up and plays every single play of every single game, and he's phenomenal. Yeah, we want to talk about the fact that Cole Bishop was inactive. Like, can we not, as a Buffalo Mafia, do that, please? We talk about the good things.
All right, Evan Anderson. Mario, you're disappointed that Trubisky overcame his injury, so your practice squad signing chances evaporated.
They evaporated 25 years ago, Evan.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know.
Corey asks about an Elam update. Corey, listen, Elam couldn't see the field, and he was losing playing time to guys who were practice squatters last year. I think that should tell you. That should tell you a lot.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. I think, they probably could have had a chance to trade him last year with something. And I think this offseason they had Babbage in there.
They just bet on themselves, man, to coach.
He goes, I can't do it. I can't do it. He can't get it. Like, there's some kind of disconnect or something. I just don't know what it is.
Ryan, bigger loss moving forward, Milano or Tehran? I'll let you go first, Mar.
It's kind of unfair. It's kind of an unfair question because we already knew Milano was gone. But Taron Johnson negates a lot of things that other teams like to do to your defense. Mm-hmm. And without him in there, I don't 100% trust Cam Lewis. And I will be happy to eat my words on that. I just don't.
Hey, listen, you better not besmirch Cam Lewis. 10 tackle Cam Lewis.
10 tackle Cam Lewis.
10 tackle Cam. That's right. 10 tackle Cam today. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you there. I think knowing that Milano's out, the loss of Tehran is big, right? Milano in, I mean, we're used to not having Tehran. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that,
Yeah.
this isn't totally out of the realm of things that we've experienced. Unfortunately, both players are now injured. I think the loss of Tehran with Milano is huge.
So tough.
It's a big one because the Bills love running that nickel package, and they don't have much outside of that's what they're built for.
Yeah, that's why they don't have a lot of linebackers.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's not like you could stick, Poyer down there in the box. You don't have a Poyer. You have Rapp.
Yeah.
Okay. You're waiting for Bishop to get back so that maybe Rapp can fill that role.
Mm-hmm.
But he still has to learn. I mean, he's still a rookie. He still has a lot of stuff that he has to learn.
Buffalo Mafia News. Would you rather bring back Cody Ford or Brian Winters? I'd rather stab myself in the eye with a spoon. That's what I would rather do.
I'd rather trot out Ramon Humber.
He's got to be like a good 275 nowadays, right? He's been out of football for a while.
He could do it. He could. Well, Kelvin Benjamin. Let's put him in there.
Ooh. Ryan Lasel with a little speculation. McDermott had the play sheet over his mouth during the last drive. Did he take over play calling at the end? Mario, you believe no, because we blitzed.
Yes. He called a double A gap blitz. McDermott's playing his guy 17 yards off the ball on that last drive. If McDermott's calling it, I think the thing was he had an everything bagel at halftime, and someone finally told him he had a poppy seed in his mouth, and he covered his mouth. But true. Ryan, it could be. He could have called it. I don't know McDermott to call a double A gap blitz on a 4th down. I know him to be very, very passive. He was checking his breath. He's like, I got to interview after this. So,
let's see. I think that takes care of a vast majority of the questions in Q&A. Nice. Mario, I have a question for you.
Oh, boy.
So Bills are playing Thursday night at Miami.
You can come over. It's fine. I talked to your mom. It's okay. You can come over and watch the game if you want. I'll have the orange slices out for you.
Damn it. That's not where I was going with this. That's not at all where I was going with this. So looking at Miami against Buffalo again was really effective on the ground. Buffalo is again a sneaky team as far as efficiency on the ground. They do a really good job of having that be a big part of their game. I think Brady's done a good job. If Josh really did break his non-throwing hand, which I'm going to continue to say from the way he landed, that you don't sprain your hand that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't sprain your hand that way. So if he did break his left hand, how much do you need to protect him from himself in the Miami game? Ooh. And do you see, do you see an activation of another running back? Because you got Ty Johnson, you got Ray Davis, you got James Cook, but from a size profile, maybe you need something a little different there if you're going to try and protect him. Do you see more 2 tight end sets to try and protect him? Like, are you trying to protect Josh from himself if he really did do any damage to his hand with that touchdown jump?
Well, I think as Josh has matured into the quarterback that he is now, I think what they do with a lot of beginning quarterbacks is they'll always try to give them the safety blanket or the check down or this and that to try to help them out.
Mm-hmm.
You could activate another running back, and that's fine. I would put Josh in a lot of shotgun situations and put 2 running backs with him, and then say, because Ray Davis is going to have to learn pass pro. James Cook is going to have to get better at pass pro. You say, whatever side they come off of, the other guy is going to run a flare. And Josh, we don't want you taking off. Give it to one of these guys quick if you don't see what you want, because Poyer is going to be leaking a lot of stuff that Josh did in practice this week. You do have 3 days to recover from that. I mean, I don't think you can fully protect Josh from himself, because I think when he gets out of the pocket, he turns into a mountain lion and he just wants to run everything over. And I don't think you can protect him from himself. I think what he'll do is he'll do exactly what he does. His instincts will take over. And then when he's walking back to the huddle, he'll go, damn, that was stupid. You know what I mean? That's what he's going to do. But I think they'll have contingency plans in place with the offense, with the guys hovering around the line that he could dump it down to, so that he doesn't have to take any more extra hits. I mean, that would be my guess.
Yeah, I see that, right? Like Josh put the team on his back today and really dragged them to the end zone multiple times, right?
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, just dragged his offense there. If Josh is compromised week 1, right, it really does worry you, because you've got a lot of weapons on this team. But again, you spread the ball around, you know, 10 guys with targets today. And I would not say that any of them are game break. Like, none of them are running 80 yards down the field.
Yeah.
Cook, I guess, is the guy there, but
Cook could, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, Curtis Samuel's not that guy. You know, he's shifty, but you got to trust that Josh is going to stay in the pocket long enough to go through his reads. You know, I think that's going to be one thing that people are a little disappointed with Samuel this year. I don't think it's necessarily going to be his fault. Josh just has a tendency to get a little impatient there.
Oh, yeah. But I think the fact that he was able to spread it around to 9 different guys, 10 different targets, was the fact that it doesn't give a team that's coming in anyone to key on, other than previous keys, which is going to be Dalton Kincaid.
Right.
Now, the Bills are either going to try to diagnose ways to get Kincaid open more, or they're going to say, listen, we had some success going to these other guys. Are you fine running those seam routes so that other guys can come underneath you? So we're just going to try to have to wait and see that out.
Yeah, Matt Collins with his 11th career touchdown today.
It's good to see a 13 run the ball and hold on to it.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm just kidding.
I saw Matt Collins make a reception in the middle of the field. I was like, who's that 13? Is that Matt Collins?
I have to change the nameplate on my jersey again.
Yeah, you are the worst at buying jerseys.
I didn't buy it.
Grim Reaper of
jersey
buying.
I was gifted. First of all, okay.
Dude,
let's walk
through the jersey collection.
I was gifted a Stevie Johnson jersey. I was gifted a Stevie Johnson jersey, and I changed it to Davis.
Okay.
And then he got whatever.
I
have a Freddie Jackson jersey. You want to say something?
Okay, there's some that are good. You know, you wear a Kent Hall jersey, everybody's high-fiving you at the tailgate before the game, right?
Giving
There's
you
some
shots.
jerseys that are untouchable, but you are the Grim Reaper of jerseys. If you get a guy, he is not getting a second contract.
I have a Paul Plesney.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Okay.
Please
continue talking.
Starlet Tulele.
Okay, he did get a contract extension.
I have 2 Drew Bledsoe jerseys.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. You know why.
Continue.
You know why I have both of those.
Please continue.
Who else do I have? I got another one.
You had a Kiko jersey.
Yes, which I switched. I changed the nameplate on it. Who's 50 now? Oh, Rousseau. I got Rousseau on it now.
Yeah, but hey man, that might not be a contract extension either at this point.
Should I get rid of the jersey now?
I'm just saying, right? You are the Grim Reaper of jerseys. If you ever see Mario with a guy as a jersey, just know that player's never getting a contract extension.
I have a Bobby Boucher jersey. He didn't get a contract extension either.
Yeah, Bobby Boucher don't need a contract extension.
You just need water. All right. All right. Hashtag Nation. Go hit up all of our socials: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All episodes will be on iTunes and Spotify for your drive tomorrow. If you want to listen to it again. For Paul, Mario, this is Hashtag Sports, and we are off like a prom dress.